Before we begin, it's crucial to understand that the information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or another qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or before undertaking any new diet or exercise regimen. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this presentation. Your health is your responsibility. You know the moment. It's 10:30 at night. The house is quiet. The day is finally over. You were so good today. You had the oatmeal for breakfast, the grilled chicken salad for lunch. You politely declined the birthday cake your coworker offered in the break room. You even got your steps in. You did everything right. But now you're standing in front of the refrigerator, bathed in that cold, artificial light, and you're having a silent, one-sided conversation with a container of leftover takeout. Your logical brain, the one that set all those goals this morning, is screaming, "Don't do it. You'll regret it. You've come so far." But another voice, a deeper, more primal voice, is whispering, "Just one bite. You deserve it. It's been a long day. What's the harm?" And we all know which voice usually wins. The next morning you wake up not just bloated, but drowning in a sea of guilt, frustration, and self-loathing, asking yourself the same question you've asked 1,000 times before. Why can't I just stick to it? What if I told you that question is the wrong question? What if I told you your failure to stick to it has almost nothing to do with your willpower, your motivation, or your character? What if I told you that moment in front of the fridge isn't a failure of discipline, but a predictable, programmed psychological response? For decades, the multi-billion-dollar weight loss industry in the United States has sold us a lie. A simple, profitable lie that weight loss is a math problem. Calories in, calories out. Eat less, move more. Buy our shakes, subscribe to our app, follow our restrictive plan, and you will get the body you desire. And when it doesn't work, and for 95% of people it doesn't work long-term, who do they tell you to blame? Yourself. You didn't want it badly enough. You lacked the willpower. You cheated. They sell you the problem and then they sell you the solution, which is just another version of the same failed formula, packaged in a shinier box. It's a brilliant business model built on a foundation of your perceived failure. But the real failure isn't yours. The failure is in the entire approach. They are trying to fix a software problem by repairing the hardware. They are giving you a new set of rules for a game you're psychologically programmed to lose. The real battle for sustainable, life-altering weight loss isn't fought in the gym or in the kitchen. The real battlefield is the 6 inches between your ears. It's a psychological war, and you've been sent into it completely unarmed. This is where everything changes. In this video, we are not going to give you another diet plan. We are not going to tell you to cut out carbs or fats or joy from your life. We are going to give you the psychological arsenal you've been missing. We are going to deconstruct the mental architecture that has been sabotaging your best efforts for years. We're going to pull back the curtain on the cognitive biases, the emotional triggers, the deeply ingrained habits, and the limiting beliefs that are truly running the show. This isn't about willpower. It's about strategy. It's about understanding the why behind the what. Why you eat when you're not hungry. Why you procrastinate on exercise even when you know it's good for you. Why you can be incredibly successful and disciplined in every other area of your life, your career, your finances, your relationships, but feel completely powerless when it comes to food. And we have to talk about why this is a uniquely American problem. The psychological pressures we face here in the USA are unlike anywhere else in the world. We live in a culture of more. Supersized meals, all-you-can-eat buffets, and grocery stores with 40,000 different products, most of which are scientifically engineered by food chemists to be hyperpalatable. So delicious and rewarding that they hijack the pleasure centers in your brain, making moderation feel like an impossible task. We're bombarded with over 5,000 advertisements a day, many of them for food, creating cravings for things we didn't even know we wanted. We live in a hustle culture that glorifies being busy, leaving us exhausted and reaching for the fastest, most convenient, and often least healthy food options just to get through the day. And on top of all that, we're fed an impossible standard of beauty by Hollywood and social media, creating a crushing pressure to look a certain way, which ironically often leads to the exact stress-eating behaviors that take us further from our goals. This isn't just in your head, it's in the air we breathe. It's the water we swim in. To succeed here, you need more than a meal plan. You need a mental fortress. So what's the plan? We're going on a deep dive into the human mind. We'll start by exposing the most common mental trap of all, the all-or-nothing mindset. That, I ate one cookie so I might as well eat the whole sleeve, thinking that derails so many people. We'll show you how to dismantle it and replace it with a mindset of flexible consistency. Then we're going to untangle the complex web of emotional eating. You'll learn to distinguish between true, physical hunger and the emotional voids we often try to fill with food, boredom, stress, loneliness, or even happiness. You'll get practical, in-the-moment tools to deal with those emotions without turning to the pantry. From there, we will explore the science of habit formation and, more importantly, habit reformation. You'll learn about the cue routine reward loop that governs so much of your behavior, and how to hijack that loop to build powerful, automatic habits that serve your goals, not sabotage them. We will talk about identity. We will show you how to stop trying to be a healthy person and start becoming one, shifting your self-perception at a core level, so that healthy choices are no longer a struggle, but simply a reflection of who you are. Finally, we'll cover the critical role of self-compassion, and how beating yourself up after a mistake is the single worst thing you can do for long-term progress. You will learn to treat yourself not with harsh discipline, but with the same supportive encouragement you'd give a good friend. This isn't a quick fix or a 30-day challenge. This is a fundamental paradigm shift. This is about ending the war with your body and your plate, and instead cultivating a deep understanding of your own mind. It's about trading frustration for fascination, and guilt for grace. The key to unlocking the body you want already exists inside of you. It's not in a pill or a powder. It's in your psychology. If you are tired of the endless cycle of losing and gaining, of starting over every single Monday, and you are ready to learn a new way, a lasting way, then you are in the right place. Are you ready to stop treating the symptoms and finally fix the root cause? Good, because the root cause isn't your lack of willpower. It's not your genetics. And it's definitely not because you haven't found the right superfood or magical workout routine. The root cause is a powerful, invisible script running in your mind, a script that was programmed into you without your permission. And today we're going to expose it. To understand this, let's first look at the journey almost every single person in America takes when they decide to lose weight. It's a pattern so predictable, so common, that psychologists have a name for it, the dieting cycle. And it's the reason why 95% of diets fail. Not because of the people, but because of the process. See if this sounds familiar. Starts with a trigger. Maybe you saw a photo of yourself you didn't like, or you felt out of breath climbing a flight of stairs, or your favorite jeans just don't fit anymore. This trigger creates a powerful surge of motivation. You declare, "That's it. I'm doing it this time." This is phase 1, the honeymoon. You pick a new plan. Maybe it's keto, maybe it's intermittent fasting, maybe you're just counting calories and hitting the gym. The first week is incredible. You're full of energy, you're disciplined, you're saying no to the office donuts with a sense of pride. You step on the scale after a few days and you're down 3, maybe 5 pounds. Feels amazing. This is working. You think to yourself, why didn't I do this sooner? This is easy. The initial success floods your brain with dopamine, the reward chemical. Feels good to be in control. You're posting your healthy meals on Instagram, you're telling your friends about your new lifestyle, and you genuinely believe this is the time it's going to stick. You are on top of the world. But then, usually around week 2 or 3, phase 2 begins, the reality check. The novelty starts to wear off. The initial water weight is gone, so the scale slows down, or maybe even stops moving for a few days. This is perfectly normal, but it feels like a failure. Your brain, which was getting those lovely dopamine hits from seeing the number go down, is now in withdrawal. At the same time, life happens. Your boss dumps a stressful project on you. You have a fight with your partner. The kids are sick. And suddenly, that salad you packed for lunch looks incredibly sad compared to the pizza your coworkers are ordering. The cravings, which were easy to ignore when you were high on motivation, are now roaring back to life. They're not just physical, they're emotional. You're not just craving sugar. You're craving comfort, a release, a reward for getting through a tough day. Your willpower, which is a finite resource like a muscle, is getting tired. It's being strained from every direction. This leads directly into the most critical phase of all. Phase 3, the slip up and the screw it moment that follows. It's Friday night. You had a brutal week. You stuck to your plan all week, but you're exhausted. A friend invites you out for a drink and some appetizers. You tell yourself, okay, just one. I've earned it. But one drink lowers your inhibitions. And those loaded nachos on the table look too good to resist. You have a few. And in that moment, a switch flips in your brain. It's a cognitive distortion called all or nothing thinking. The internal monologue goes from, I had a few nachos, to well, I've already blown my diet for the day. I might as well just eat whatever I want and enjoy it. This is the screw it moment. The floodgates open. The nachos are followed by a burger and fries and then dessert. You tell yourself that famous lie we all know and love. I'll start again on Monday. This single thought is the most destructive phrase in the entire weight loss journey. It gives you permission to completely abandon your goals for the next 48 hours. The weekend becomes a free-for-all. You eat all the things you've been depriving yourself of, not even because you're hungry, but because your time is limited. It's the Last Supper syndrome repeated every single weekend. And that brings us to the final soul-crushing phase. Phase 4. The guilt and shame spiral. Monday morning arrives. You wake up feeling bloated, physically sick, and emotionally defeated. You step on the scale and see that you've not only erased all the progress you made, but you might have even gained a pound. The feeling is overwhelming. It's a toxic cocktail of guilt for what you ate, and shame for who you are. The inner voice turns cruel. See? You can't do it. You have no willpower. You're a failure. What's wrong with you? This shame doesn't motivate you, paralyzes you. It makes you feel so worthless that the idea of starting over feels impossible. So, for some, they just give up entirely, sinking back into old habits, carrying the weight of this new failure on top of all the previous ones. For others, they muster up the strength to try again. They go back to phase 1, picking a new, even more restrictive diet, convinced that the last one wasn't strict enough. And the cycle begins all over again. Does any of this sound familiar? This isn't a personal failing. This is a psychological trap. It's a feedback loop from hell, and it's fueled by the very industry that claims to be helping you. Every diet book, every meal plan, every fitness app focuses on the what to eat, what exercises to do. They focus on rules, restriction, and willpower. But they completely ignore the why we eat when we're not hungry, why we self-sabotage when we're doing well, why one slip-up feels like a total catastrophe. They ignore the psychology. The all-or-nothing thinking I mentioned is a classic example. It's a mindset of perfectionism. Either you are 100% perfect on your diet, or you are a 100% failure. There is no middle ground. There's no room for being human. Think about it. If you were learning to play the piano and you hit a wrong note, would you slam the piano shut, set it on fire, and declare you'll never touch an instrument again? Of course not. You'd accept it as part of the learning process and keep practicing. Yet with food, one wrong note, one bad meal, and we throw the entire concert away. This cycle is also powered by what's called the what the hell effect. Researchers proved this in a famous experiment. They brought two groups of people into a lab, dieters and non-dieters. They gave both groups a milkshake. Then they put them in a room with bowls of ice cream and told them to taste and rate them. The non-dieters had a little bit of ice cream and stopped. But the dieters? The ones who believed they had already blown their diet by having the milkshake? They ate significantly more ice cream. The milkshake triggered their what the hell attitude, opening the floodgates. Their mindset, not their hunger, dictated their behavior. So here's the truth they don't want you to know. Willpower is a myth. Not in the sense that it doesn't exist, but in the way we're told to use it. Relying on willpower to lose weight is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You might be able to do it for a little while through sheer force, but eventually your arms will get tired, your focus will shift for just a second, and that ball is going to rocket to the surface. You can't fight your own brain chemistry and psychological programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's exhausting, and it's a battle you are programmed to lose. The problem isn't your body. The problem isn't the food. The problem is the cycle. And you cannot escape a cycle you don't know you're in. But now you know. You can see the pattern. You understand the psychological forces at play. You are no longer a passenger on this runaway train. You are at the controls. So if this cycle is so predictable, so universal, and so clearly designed for failure, why does every single weight loss company in America sell you a plan that forces you right into it? What if this cycle of failure isn't an accident? The real question isn't what should I eat? The real question is, how do I break this cycle and rewire my brain to get off this hamster wheel for good? And the answer to that begins with understanding the two most powerful and misunderstood forces that control your every decision around food. Those two forces are locked in a constant, brutal tug-of-war inside your head for control of your body. Think of it like having two different brains both fighting for the steering wheel. On one side you have the primal brain, and on the other you have the modern brain. Every single struggle you've ever had with weight loss, every craving you've given into, every diet you've quit. It can all be explained by the battle between these two. Let's start with the first one because it's the one that's secretly in charge most of the time, your primal brain. This isn't the thinking, logical part of you. This is the ancient reptilian core of your mind. It's the part that evolved over millions of years with one, and only one job: keep the human animal alive. It doesn't care about your six-pack abs, your summer body goals, or what the number on the scale says. It cares about survival. Period. To do this, it operates on three simple, powerful, and non-negotiable directives. First, seek pleasure. Second, avoid pain. And third, conserve energy at all costs. Think about our ancestors on the plains of Africa. What was pleasure to them? Finding a source of high-calorie food. Sugar, fat, salt. When they stumbled upon a beehive full of honey or a fatty animal, their brain would flood with dopamine, the pleasure chemical. This wasn't just for fun, it was a survival mechanism. The dopamine hit was the brain's way of screaming, "Yes, this is good. Remember this. Do it again. This will keep you from starving." What was pain? Hunger. Starvation. The discomfort of an empty stomach was a direct threat to survival. And what about conserving energy? In a world where your next meal was never guaranteed, wasting calories on unnecessary movement was a death sentence. Laziness wasn't a character flaw. It was a brilliant evolutionary strategy. Now, fast forward a few 100,000 years to today, right here in the United States. You walk into a modern American supermarket. You are walking into a paradise custom-built for your primal brain. The aisles are overflowing with the very things your ancient survival software is programmed to crave more than anything else. Hyper-palatable, calorie-dense foods, engineered by scientists in a lab to provide the biggest possible dopamine hit. Brightly colored packages scream pleasure. The smell of the bakery wafts through the air, promising immediate satisfaction. Fast food restaurants on every corner offer a 1,200-calorie meal in under 3 minutes. Food delivery apps can bring a pizza, a perfect storm of fat, salt, and carbs directly to your couch. Your primal brain is not bad. It is not your enemy. It is simply a highly effective survival machine running ancient software in a world it was never designed for. It's like putting a 1980s computer on today's high-speed internet and wondering why it's going haywire. It sees a donut and its ancient programming screams, "High-calorie energy source. Eat it now before someone else does. This will save us." It doesn't understand that there are 10,000 more donuts right down the street. It only understands the immediate, urgent need for survival. This is why emotional eating is so powerful. When you're stressed, sad, or tired, your body is in a state of perceived pain. What's the fastest way your primal brain knows to fix pain? Seek pleasure. And what's the most reliable source of pleasure it knows? A hit of dopamine from sugar and fat. It's not a failure of your character. It's a deeply ingrained biological response to discomfort. Now let's talk about the other force, your modern brain. This is the prefrontal cortex, the more recently evolved part of your brain. This is the you think of as you. It's the part that sets goals, makes plans, and understands long-term consequences. Your modern brain is the one that says, "I want to lose 20 pounds so I can have more energy to play with my kids." It's the one that downloads the calorie tracking app, buys the vegetables, and schedules the gym sessions. It's the voice of reason, logic, and discipline. So here's the battlefield. Every single day you wake up and this war begins. Your modern brain has the plan. We're going to eat a healthy breakfast, a sensible lunch, and avoid snacks. But your primal brain is constantly scanning the environment for threats and opportunities. It sees the box of donuts your coworker brought into the office. The modern brain says, "No thanks, that's not on the plan." But the primal brain, the toddler at the steering wheel, starts screaming, "Danger! We are passing up a rare opportunity for high-density calories. This is a mistake. Eat the donut. Eat it now." So why does the primal brain win so often? There are two critical reasons. First, your modern brain gets tired. It runs on a finite battery. Every decision you make all day long, what to wear, which email to answer first, how to deal with traffic, what to say in a meeting, drains a little bit of that battery. This is a real psychological phenomenon called decision fatigue. By the end of a long, stressful day, your modern brain's battery is flashing red. It's weak. Its logical voice is just a whisper. But the primal brain? It never gets tired. It runs on pure instinct. It's always on, always screaming, always demanding. So at 9 p.m. after a brutal day, you're sitting on the couch. Your modern brain is exhausted. It barely has the energy to protest. And that's when the primal brain hijacks the controls. That's when you find yourself standing in front of the open refrigerator, or mindlessly eating a bag of chips, or ordering that late-night pizza. It's not because you have no willpower. It's because the part of your brain responsible for willpower was completely drained, and the ancient survival machine took over. The second reason the primal brain wins is because the entire American food environment is its co-conspirator. It's a setup. Food companies spend billions of dollars a year on marketing specifically designed to bypass your logical modern brain and speak directly to your impulsive primal brain. They use images of pure pleasure, trigger feelings of comfort and nostalgia, and create a sense of artificial urgency. Limited time only. Buy one get one free. These aren't appealing to your logic. They are triggering your primal brain's fear of scarcity and its desire for an easy win. So for years you've been told the answer is to just try harder, to have more discipline, to use more willpower. But what you've really been doing is trying to fight a war you are neurologically and environmentally destined to lose. You're trying to scream over the toddler at the wheel, while the entire world outside the car is handing that toddler candy and telling them to drive faster. It's an impossible fight. This is the most important mindset shift you can possibly make. Stop trying to kill, crush, or conquer your primal brain. You can't. It is an essential part of you. Trying to defeat it with willpower is like trying to hold your breath indefinitely. You can do it for a little while through sheer force of will, but eventually your survival instincts will kick in and you will gasp for air. That's what happens when you break a diet. It's not a moral failing. It's a biological inevitability. The real path to success is not to fight your primal brain, but to understand it, to work with it. The goal is to become a skilled negotiator between the impulsive, short-sighted toddler and the wise long-term planner. You have to learn how to soothe its fears, satisfy its needs in a healthy way, and gently guide it toward the destination your modern brain has chosen. You have to stop seeing your cravings as a weakness and start seeing them as a message from an ancient part of you that is simply trying to do its job. So if willpower is a losing game, and the entire system is rigged against us, what's the first practical step to actually managing this primal force? How do we start negotiating with the toddler in our head instead of just fighting with it? The first technique is surprisingly simple, and it starts with the concept psychologists call implementation intentions. It's a deceptively simple, if-then statement for your life. That's it. It's a pre-planned, automatic response to a specific trigger. Instead of relying on your exhausted, decision-fatigued brain to make a good choice in the heat of the moment, you make the decision in advance, when you are calm, rational, and aligned with your long-term goals. You are essentially writing a piece of code for your own mind. If this specific situation happens, then I will perform this specific action. No debate, no negotiation. The decision is already made. Think about the difference. A normal goal sounds like this: I'm going to eat healthier this week. That's a nice thought, but it's completely useless. It's a wish, not a plan. When 3 p.m. on Tuesday rolls around and your coworker brings in a box of warm, gooey donuts, your eat healthier goal is a flimsy, pathetic shield against the immediate, powerful desire for sugar and fat. Your brain is flooded with 1,000 tiny questions. Does one donut count? Maybe a small one? I was good at lunch. I'll just be better tomorrow. What does healthier even mean right now? This is decision fatigue in action. Your willpower gets shredded by 1,000 tiny cuts. Now, compare that to an implementation intention. Your plan, decided on Sunday night when you were feeling motivated, sounds like this: if my coworkers bring donuts into the office on Tuesday, then I will walk to the water cooler, fill up my bottle, and drink the entire thing. See the difference? It's night and day. There is no room for debate. The trigger is specific. Coworkers bring donuts. The action is specific. Walk to the water cooler and drink a bottle of water. You've taken the power away from the impulsive, short-sighted toddler in your head and given it to the calm, rational adult you were a few days ago. You've created a pre-paved detour around a known pothole. You're not using willpower to fight the urge. You're using a predetermined plan to sidestep it entirely. Let's apply this to some classic American weight loss traps. Trap number 1. The drive home from a long, stressful day at work. You're exhausted, you're starving, and every fast food sign on the highway is glowing like a beacon of hope. Your vague goal of, I'm not going to eat fast food, is about to get steamrolled by a Big Mac. Your implementation intention: if I am driving home from work and feel the urge to pull into a drive-thru, then I will immediately turn on my Power Commute playlist that I made specifically for this purpose and take the scenic route home. which adds 5 minutes to my drive but doesn't pass my trigger restaurants. This plan is brilliant for several reasons. It identifies the trigger, the feeling of the urge on the commute. It provides an immediate, alternative action. Turn on a specific playlist. This changes your emotional state. And it provides an environmental change. Take a different route. You've created a whole new automatic procedure. Trap number 2. Late night boredom snacking. It's 9:30 p.m. You're settled on the couch watching your favorite show. And suddenly your brain screams for something crunchy and salty. The pantry is calling your name. Your goal of "I need to stop snacking at night" is meaningless. Your implementation intention. If it is after 9 p.m. and I feel the urge to get a snack from the pantry while watching TV, then I will get up, go to the kitchen, and make a cup of peppermint tea. I will then sit back down and focus on how the warm tea feels, sipping it slowly until the episode is over. Again, it's a specific trigger leading to a specific, non-food related ritual. You're not just saying no to the chips. You're saying yes to a different soothing activity. You are replacing a habit, not just trying to erase it with sheer force of will, which almost never works. Trap number 3. The weekend social gathering. You're at a friend's barbecue. There are bowls of potato chips the size of hubcaps, cheesy dips, and sugary cocktails everywhere. This is a minefield. Your goal of "I'll try to be good" will last about 7 minutes. Your implementation intention. If I go to a party and there is a buffet table, then I will first get a large glass of sparkling water with lime and hold it in my dominant hand. I will then have at least one full conversation with someone before I even look at the food. This is psychological judo. Holding a drink makes it physically harder to grab food mindlessly. It also makes you look and feel socially engaged. And by delaying your approach to the food, you give your rational brain time to come online and make a more conscious choice, instead of reacting with your primal hungry brain the second you walk in the door. The psychologist who pioneered this research, Peter Gallwitzer, found in study after study that this simple if-then technique dramatically increases the odds of people following through on their goals. In some cases, it can make you 200 to 300% more likely to succeed. Why? Because it forges a powerful, automatic link in your brain between the situation, the if, and the behavior, the then. Do it enough times, and it becomes as ingrained as stopping at a red light. You no longer think about it. The cue happens, the new routine fires. You have successfully rewired your own brain. So, how do you build this system for yourself? I want you to create what I call a temptation playbook. Get a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. Step 1 is to identify your personal landmines. Be a detective in your own life for a few days. When do you consistently go off track? What are the exact situations, places, times of day, moods, or people that trigger your unwanted habits? Be brutally specific. It's not "I eat when I'm stressed." It's "when I get a frustrating email from my boss, my first impulse is to walk to the vending machine." It's not "I struggle on weekends." It's "when I sit down to watch college football on a Saturday afternoon, I automatically reach for beer and chips." Write down at least 5 of these specific if triggers. Step 2 is to design your then responses. For every single if you identified, you are going to write a corresponding then. Your then statement needs to be a concrete, physical action you can take immediately. It cannot be, "Then I will resist the urge." That's not an action. It has to be something you do. "Then I will stand up and do 10 squats. Then I will text my accountability partner. Then I will chew a piece of mint gum." The key is to make these actions simple, easy, and preferably something that moves you in a positive direction or simply breaks the chain of the old habit. Step 3 is to rehearse it in your mind. This is critical. Close your eyes and visualize the if situation happening. See the plate of cookies in the break room. Feel the stress from the email. Then, vividly imagine yourself executing your then plan. See yourself walking away, drinking the water, feeling that small jolt of pride and control. This mental rehearsal strengthens the new neural pathway before you even have to use it in real life. This entire playbook is your strategy for managing that toddler brain. You're not arguing with the toddler when it's already in the middle of a full-blown tantrum in the candy aisle. That's a losing battle. You are the parent who, before even entering the store, calmly says, "We are here to buy apples and milk. We are not going down the candy aisle today. If you ask for candy, we will leave the store immediately." The rule is set in advance. The boundary is clear. The decision is non-negotiable because it was made by the calm, rational parent, not the screaming, emotional toddler. But here's the thing. This if-then strategy is an incredible defensive tool. It's your shield. It helps you navigate a world that is practically designed to make you fail. But the most successful people, the ones who make weight loss look effortless, don't just spend all their energy blocking attacks. They change the battlefield itself. They rig the game so they don't have to fight so hard in the first place. And that's where we move from defense to offense, using a powerful concept called choice architecture. A secret weapon used by corporations against you for decades, that you can now flip around and use for yourself. Choice architecture is a term that sounds like it belongs in a university lecture, but I promise you it's the single most practical concept we will discuss. At its core, it's about this simple truth. The way choices are presented to you dramatically influences the choice you make. It's not about banning options. It's about designing the environment to make one option easier, more attractive, or simply the default. Let me give you a powerful non-food example. In some European countries, the organ donation rate is over 99%. In the United States, it hovers around 28%. Why the massive difference? Are Europeans just inherently more generous? No. The difference is a single checkbox on their driver's license form. In the high donation countries, the box says, "Check here if you don't want to be an organ donor." It's an opt-out system. The default is that you are a donor. In the US, it's the opposite. You have to check a box to opt in. Most people just don't check the box either way. They stick with the default. That tiny change in design, the choice architecture, saves thousands of lives a year. The easiest choice becomes the most common choice. Now, take that powerful concept and imagine it being weaponized by multi-billion-dollar corporations whose primary goal is to get you to buy and consume more of their products. Welcome to the American food environment. You are living inside a masterfully crafted architecture of temptation. Think about your last trip to the grocery store. It's not an accident that you're greeted by the vibrant colors of the fresh produce section, right at the entrance. It's a psychological tactic called priming. You buy some bananas and a bag of spinach and you feel virtuous. This feeling makes you subconsciously give yourself permission to indulge later on. You've earned it. Then the store forces you down a specific path. A maze designed to maximize your exposure to thousands of products. The essentials like milk and eggs are almost always in the back corner, forcing you to walk past the processed food aisles, the snack displays, and the soda promotions to get there. The most profitable items, the high-sugar, high-fat, high-margin products, are placed at eye level. This isn't a coincidence. It's a multi-million-dollar business called slotting fees, where brands pay a premium for that prime real estate. Go down the cereal aisle. Notice where the Fruit Loops and a cartoon-covered box of chocolate puffs are. They're at a child's eye level. The boring, high-fiber brand flakes? They're either way up high or down near the floor. And then there's the checkout lane, the final gauntlet. It's a minefield of candy, magazines, and cold sodas, preying on your decision fatigue after an hour of shopping. It is a system engineered from start to finish to bypass your rational brain and trigger your impulse-driven lizard brain. This architecture extends far beyond the grocery store. When you go to a fast food restaurant and order a burger, what's the very next question? Do you want to make that a combo? The combo is the default. It's the easy prepackaged choice. Then, do you want to supersize that for just 79 cents more? They're not selling you food. They're selling you value. Your brain's reward system lights up. For less than $1, I can get so much more. It feels financially irresponsible not to take the deal. They have framed the unhealthiest option as the smartest choice. This is the environment you're fighting against. It's an environment that makes the unhealthy choice the easy choice, the default choice, and the value choice. Relying on sheer willpower to navigate this system is like trying to swim upstream in a tidal wave. You might make progress for a little while, but eventually the current will exhaust you. So how do we win? We stop swimming against the current. We change its direction. We become the choice architect of our own lives. You are going to take the exact same principles that corporations use against you, and you're going to use them for your own benefit. This is where you go on offense. It starts in the most important environment you control, your home. Specifically, your kitchen. The #1 rule is this: make the right choice the easy choice. A fascinating study out of Cornell University found that people who kept a fruit bowl on their kitchen counter weighed, on average, 13 pounds less than those who didn't. Conversely, those who kept cereal or soft drinks on their counter weighed significantly more. The food that is most visible and easiest to grab is the food you will eat the most. It's that simple. So become a designer. Tonight, go into your kitchen and re-architect it for success. That box of cookies? Don't leave it on the counter. Put it in an opaque container on the highest shelf in the back of the pantry. You've just increased the friction. To get those cookies now, you need a plan, a step stool, and effort. You've made the bad choice the hard choice. Now take that beautiful bowl you have and fill it with apples, oranges, and bananas, and put it right in the middle of your counter, in your direct line of sight. You've just made the good choice the effortless choice. Open your refrigerator. What's at eye level? Is it leftover pizza and a can of soda? Let's re-architect. Take an hour this weekend to wash and chop up some carrots, celery, and bell peppers. Put them in clear containers with some hummus, right at the front of the middle shelf. When you open the fridge, hungry and looking for a quick snack, what's the first thing you'll see? An easy, healthy, ready-to-eat option. Move the soda to the bottom crisper drawer behind the kale. Out of sight, out of mind. You are curating your environment to serve your goals, not your impulses. The single most powerful act of choice architecture, however, is the one you perform at the grocery store. Don't bring the enemy into your house. The battle isn't at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday when you're tired and craving sugar. The battle is in aisle 7 on a Saturday afternoon. If you don't buy the Oreos, you can't eat the Oreos. By making one good decision at the store, you prevent the need for 100 acts of willpower at home. This principle of designing your path of least resistance extends beyond your kitchen. Think about exercise. You know you should work out in the morning, but when the alarm goes off, your warm bed feels so much better. You're relying on willpower when you're at your weakest. So architect the choice. The night before, lay out your workout clothes. Put your sneakers by the door with your keys and headphones on top of them. When the alarm goes off, you don't have to think, you don't have to decide, you just have to execute a pre-made plan. You have made it easier to go to the gym than it is to stay in bed. Do you have a route to work where you always pass that one coffee shop that sells 700-calorie caramel macchiatos? Change your route. Drive a different way. It seems simplistic, but you are literally re-architecting your physical path to remove a trigger point. You are making the bad choice invisible. This isn't about being lazy or weak. It's about being smart. It's about understanding human psychology and using it to your advantage. A brilliant military general doesn't choose to fight on the terrain that favors her enemy. She chooses the high ground. She dictates the terms of the battle. Your home, your car, your daily routine, this is your terrain. Right now, it might be designed to favor the enemy of impulse and convenience. But you have the power to redesign it. You can build a fortress of healthy habits where the right choices are not only easy but automatic. This is a profound shift in mindset. You stop being a passive consumer, a victim of the environment that has been built around you. You become the active designer, the architect of your own world. You are rigging the game in your own favor. You are accepting that your willpower is a precious, finite battery, and instead of draining it by fighting 1,000 tiny battles every day, you are strategically eliminating the battles altogether. We've meticulously redesigned our kitchens and our routines. We've become the architects of our physical world. But there's another environment that's even more powerful, and it's one we carry with us every second of every day: the architecture of our own thoughts. The stories we tell ourselves can be a prison of self-sabotage or a launchpad for incredible transformation. And untangling that internal narrative, especially the one that says, "I'm just not the kind of person who can be healthy," is the next critical piece of the puzzle. That one belief, that single sentence you repeat to yourself, "I'm just not a healthy person," is more powerful than any diet plan or workout routine on the planet. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy wrapped in a security blanket. Why? Because our brains are fundamentally wired for consistency. We have a deep, primal need for our actions to align with our identity. To do otherwise creates a state of internal conflict, a psychological static called cognitive dissonance. And your brain will do almost anything to shut that static off. Think about it. If you hold the core belief, "I'm the kind of person who is overweight," what happens when you try to eat a salad for lunch? Feels fake. It's a contradiction. Your brain goes into overdrive trying to resolve this conflict. It whispers, "This isn't you. You're the person who loves burgers and fries. Remember how good that sounds? This salad is boring. You're just pretending." And so, to restore internal consistency, you give in. You order the burger. The static stops. You feel a strange sense of relief even in failure because you've just confirmed your own identity. You've proven yourself right. You are, in fact, the person who is overweight. See how insidious that is? The failure feels like a win for your identity. This is the invisible wall so many Americans hit, again and again. We buy the gym membership, we stock the fridge with kale, We commit to a New Year's resolution with every fiber of our being. But we're trying to bolt new actions onto an old identity. It's like trying to run brand new software on a 20-year-old operating system. It's clunky, it crashes, and eventually the system just rejects it. The real work isn't about forcing new habits. It's about upgrading the operating system. It's about changing who you believe you are. The most successful transformations I've ever witnessed, both in clinical settings and in the real world, didn't start with a meal plan. They started with a subtle but profound shift in identity. It's the difference between saying, "I'm trying to eat healthy," and saying, "I am a healthy eater." The first is a temporary state of effort. The second is a statement of being. It's the difference between "I have to go to the gym" and "I am the kind of person who doesn't miss a workout." One is a chore. The other is an expression of who you are. Let me tell you about a client I once worked with. We'll call him David. For 30 years, David's identity was the fun big guy. He was the life of the party, the one who always ordered appetizers for the table, the one who knew the best late-night pizza joints in town. His weight was part of his persona. His friends expected it. His family was used to it. When his doctor told him he was pre-diabetic and needed to make a serious change, his first thought wasn't about his health. It was, "Who will I be if I'm not that guy?" He was terrified of losing his identity more than he was of losing his health. So we didn't start by counting calories or banning foods. That would have been a direct assault on his identity. Instead, we started with one tiny, almost laughably simple question. What is one thing a healthy person does every day? David thought for a moment and said, "I guess they probably drink more water." So that was his only goal. Not to lose weight. Not to get fit. His goal was to become the kind of person who drinks a glass of water first thing in the morning. That's it. That was the entire plan for week 1. Every morning he'd drink a glass of water and tell himself, "I'm the kind of person who prioritizes hydration." It was a small, undeniable piece of evidence. A single vote cast for a new identity. The next week we asked the question again. What's another thing a healthy person does? David said, "They probably don't sit for 8 hours straight." So his new goal was to become the kind of person who stands up and walks around for 5 minutes every hour. He set a timer on his phone. He wasn't exercising. He was simply being the person he decided he wanted to be, one small action at a time. Each action, drinking water, taking a short walk, choosing an apple instead of chips one afternoon, wasn't about the action itself. It was about casting a vote. Every time he made one of these small choices, he was providing proof to his own brain that his old identity was outdated. He was slowly, methodically building a case for a new one. The cognitive dissonance started to work in his favor. Months later, when a friend offered him a second slice of pizza, the internal static wasn't, "This healthy stuff isn't you." The static was, "Wait a minute. A healthy person, the person I'm becoming, probably wouldn't feel great after this." Resisting the pizza wasn't a painful act of willpower anymore. It was a simple act of self-consistency. It was him being him. Over the course of a year, David lost over 80 pounds. But if you ask him, the weight loss was just a side effect. The real transformation was that he became a person who values his health. He's still the fun guy at the party, but now he's also the guy who suggests going for a hike instead of a bar, or the guy who brings a healthy dish to the potluck that everyone actually loves. He didn't lose his identity. He evolved it. This is the process. You don't just wake up one day and decide to have a new identity. That's not how it works. You earn it. You build it proof by proof, vote by vote. So, forget the grand, sweeping declarations. Forget, "I'm going to lose 50 pounds by summer." That's an outcome. It's fragile. You can fail at it. Instead, focus on the identity. Who do you want to become? Do you want to become a person who moves their body every day? Great. Your goal isn't to run a marathon. Your goal is to put on your walking shoes and step outside for 5 minutes. That's a win. You just cast a vote for active person. Do you want to become a person who eats nutritious food? Your goal isn't to have a perfect diet. Your goal is to add 1 vegetable to your dinner plate tonight, a handful of spinach in your pasta sauce, some broccoli next to your chicken. Boom. Another vote cast for healthy eater. These actions are too small to fail. They're not intimidating. They don't require a massive surge of motivation, but they are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of a new you. Each one is a whisper to your subconscious. See? This is who we are now. And over time, those whispers become a roar. Your brain, in its relentless pursuit of consistency, We'll begin to align everything else with this emerging identity. The cravings will soften. The healthy choices will feel less like a struggle and more like an instinct. This is the psychological leverage that creates permanent change. It reframes the entire journey. You're no longer on a diet, which is by definition a temporary state of deprivation. Instead, you are on a journey of becoming. You're not fighting against yourself. You are stepping into a truer version of yourself. But building this new identity is only half the battle. Because even with the strongest sense of self, you are still living in a world that pushes and pulls you in 1,000 different directions. Your identity might say, I'm a healthy eater. But your kitchen pantry might be screaming, eat the cookies. Your new identity might say, I'm an active person. But your living room couch, perfectly positioned in front of a giant TV, might be whispering a much more seductive story. You can build the strongest identity in the world. But if you're living in a house designed to make you fail, you're fighting an uphill battle every single day. So, how do we turn our homes from a minefield of temptation into a fortress of health? That's what we need to deconstruct next. Let's start with a concept from behavioral economics called choice architecture. It sounds complicated, but the idea is stunningly simple. The way choices are presented to you dramatically influences the decision you make. Imagine 2 office cafeterias. In the very first thing you see is a glistening display of brownies and soda. The salads and water are tucked away in a corner. In the second cafeteria, you're greeted by a vibrant salad bar and a pyramid of bottled water. The brownies and soda are still there, but you have to ask for them from behind the counter. Which cafeteria do you think sells more salad? It's not about willpower. It's about the path of least resistance. Our brains are fundamentally lazy. They're wired to conserve energy. We will almost always take the easiest path. The tragedy of the modern American home is that it's often been architected, unintentionally, to make the unhealthy path the easiest one. The chips are in the pantry, right at eye level. The soda is in the front of the fridge. The remote control is on the arm of the couch. We've built a world of convenience that conveniently leads us away from our goals. So, we're going to become the architects of our own success. We're going to redesign our environment, starting with the absolute epicenter of our health journey, the kitchen. Your kitchen is not just a place where you cook. It is command central. It's the battlefield where dozens of food-related decisions are made every single day. Right now, for many of us, that battlefield is rigged against us. So, our first mission is what I call the Great Pantry Purge. This is not about deprivation. This is an act of profound self-respect. It's you, today, making a decision to protect the you of tomorrow, the you that's tired, stressed, and vulnerable. You need to go into your pantry, your cupboards, and your fridge, and you need to be ruthless. We all have those trigger foods. The ones that, once you have one, you have the whole bag. For me, it was a specific brand of cheese crackers. For you, it might be cookies, potato chips, or that pint of ice cream hiding in the back of the freezer. The rule is simple. If it's a food you have no control over, it cannot live in your house. Don't just hide it. Don't put it on a high shelf. Get it out. Donate it to a food bank, give it to a neighbor, or if you have to, throw it away. I know throwing away food feels wrong, but think of the money you spent on it as a sunk cost, an investment in a lesson learned. The cost of keeping it in your house and derailing your progress is infinitely higher. This one act removes dozens of future negotiations you would have had with yourself. You can't eat what isn't there. Once you've cleared the minefield, it's time to rebuild your fortress. This is about strategic restocking and reorganization. Supermarkets have a rule. Eye level is buy level. They put the most profitable, often most sugary and processed products right in your line of sight. We're going to steal that trick and use it for our own good. From now on, your pantry and fridge will be organized like this. The healthiest, most goal-aligned foods go on the prime real estate, the shelves at eye level. When you open the fridge, the first thing you should see are clear containers filled with pre-cut celery, carrots, and bell peppers. You should see Greek yogurt, hard-boiled eggs, and fresh berries. When you open the pantry, you should see nuts, seeds, protein bars, and whole grains. The less healthy stuff? The stuff you might want for a planned treat? It goes on the top shelf or in the back or in an opaque container. You're not banning it. You're just adding a tiny bit of friction. You're making the healthy choice the easy, visible, obvious choice, and the less healthy choice the one that requires a little more effort. And while we're at it, let's talk about convenience. The food industry has weaponized convenience against us, selling us pre-packaged, hyper-palatable junk that's ready in seconds. We need to weaponize convenience for ourselves. Spend 1 hour on a Sunday doing this. Wash and chop your vegetables for the week. Cook a batch of quinoa or brown rice. Grill some chicken breast. Put everything in clear, ready-to-go containers. Now when you come home exhausted on a Tuesday night, the healthy choice, building a quick salad or a grain bowl, is actually faster and easier than ordering a pizza and waiting for it to arrive. You're making a pact with your future self. You're using your high motivation moments on Sunday to set your low motivation self on Tuesday up for a guaranteed win. The final piece of the kitchen puzzle is tooling up for success. Get smaller plates. This is a classic, but it works because of a psychological phenomenon called the Delboeuf illusion. The exact same serving of food looks significantly larger and more satisfying on a 9-inch plate than it does on a 12-inch dinner plate. You trick your brain into feeling full with less food. Put a large, attractive water bottle on your counter where you'll see it all day. You'll be amazed how much more water you drink simply because of the visual cue. Your environment is now actively working for you, not against you. But our homes are more than just kitchens. Think about the American living room. It's typically designed around one central object, the television. And what do we associate with watching TV? Mindless snacking. We've been conditioned for decades by advertising and habit to pair entertainment with eating. This is a disaster for weight loss, because when you're distracted by a show, you completely miss your body's satiety signals. You don't register that you're full until you're uncomfortably stuffed. The solution? Create a simple rule. The couch is for relaxing, the kitchen table is for eating. If you want a snack, you have to get up, put it on a plate, go to the table, and eat it without the distraction of a screen. This simple act of mindfulness breaks the cycle. It forces you to actually taste your food and pay attention to your hunger levels. More often than not, you'll realize you weren't even hungry, just bored or conditioned. And while you're redesigning the living room, make it a space that encourages movement. Keep a yoga mat rolled up in the corner. Leave a set of dumbbells or resistance bands by the couch. The visual cue makes it infinitely more likely that you'll do a few squats or stretches during a commercial break. You're lowering the activation energy required to be active. Finally, we need to transform your bedroom from a multi-purpose media room into a sanctuary for sleep. We've talked about hormones, and sleep is the master regulator. When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and less leptin, the fullness hormone. Your cortisol levels spike, encouraging your body to store fat, especially around the midsection. And your willpower, which is a finite resource, is completely depleted. A bad night's sleep is a recipe for a day of bad food choices. So your bedroom needs to be optimized for one thing and one thing only: high-quality rest. This means no screens for at least an hour before bed. The blue light from your phone or tablet wrecks your melatonin production. Charge your phone across the room, not on your nightstand. This does two things. It removes the temptation to endlessly scroll, and it forces you to physically get out of bed in the morning to turn off your alarm, short-circuiting the snooze button habit. Keep the room as dark, quiet, and cool as possible. You're not just going to sleep. You are recharging the very battery that powers your decision-making and your metabolism for the next day. By redesigning our kitchens, living rooms, and bedrooms, we're not just tidying up. We are building a system. We're engineering an environment that makes the right decisions the easy decisions. It's a fundamental shift from relying on the fragile, fleeting resource of willpower to creating a robust, physical framework that supports our goals automatically. We've rebuilt our home into a fortress of health. But there's another environment we live in 24/7, an environment that can be even more influential and far more difficult to control: our social environment. The people we surround ourselves with, our friends, our family, our coworkers, can either be our greatest allies or our most subtle saboteurs. How do we navigate the birthday parties, the happy hours, and the family dinners with a well-meaning relative who insists you have to try their dessert? How do we build a tribe that lifts us up, instead of a social circle that pulls us down? That's the next critical layer we have to master. It starts with a concept from sociology called social contagion. And no, it's not about germs. It's the scientific reality that behaviors, attitudes, and even health outcomes spread through our social networks like a virus. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And science backs this up profoundly. A landmark study published in the New England Journal of Medicine followed over 12,000 people for 32 years. The findings were staggering. A person's chances of becoming obese increased by 57% if they had a friend who became obese. 57%. It was more influential than having a sibling or even a spouse gain weight. Your friend's habits quite literally become your habits. This is the invisible force field that dictates so much of our success or failure. And it's why, before we can consistently win the battle on our plate, we have to win the battle in our social circle. We have to become architects of our environment. First, let's talk about the saboteurs. To understand this, you need to picture a bucket of crabs. If you put one crab in a bucket, it can easily climb out. But if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, something fascinating and terrible happens. As soon as one crab gets close to the top, to freedom, the other crabs will reach up and pull it back down into the bucket with them. They will literally ensure a collective failure rather than watch one of their own succeed. This crabs in a bucket mentality is one of the most powerful and heartbreaking forces you will face. These crabs are often the people we love the most. They don't pull you down because they're evil. They do it for complex, deeply human reasons. Sometimes it's a fear of change. Your transformation is a glaring spotlight on their own stagnation. Your discipline highlights their lack of it. If you stop being the let's order a pizza and binge watch a series friend, what does that make your relationship? Your success threatens the comfortable, predictable dynamic they've come to rely on. Other times, it's a form of misguided love. This is the well-meaning relative who says, "I made this cheesecake just for you. You have to have a piece." For them, food is love. Rejecting the food feels like rejecting their affection. It's a cultural script written so deeply, especially in America, that breaking from it feels like a personal slight. And sometimes, let's be honest, it's just plain old insecurity. Your success is a mirror, and they don't like the reflection. So they'll offer you a donut saying, "Oh, come on, one won't hurt." What they're really saying is, "Please don't get too far ahead of me. Your success makes me feel bad about myself. Come back down here where it's comfortable." So, how do we escape the bucket without getting pulled back in? We have to be strategic. The first step is to conduct a social audit. Take a mental inventory of the people you spend the most time with. Who are your 5 people? And categorize them. You have your cheerleaders. These are the people who, when you tell them your goals, say, "That's awesome. How can I support you?" They'll suggest a walk instead of a bar. They'll celebrate your non-scale victories. Then you have your neutrals. They don't help, but they don't hinder. They're just there. And finally, you have the saboteurs, the crabs. The ones who constantly tempt you, question your journey, or make you feel guilty for your choices. The goal isn't to excommunicate everyone who offers you a cookie. It's about awareness. Once you know who is who, you can develop a specific strategy for each. For your cheerleaders, you lean in. You share your goals, your struggles, your wins. They become your lifeline. For the neutrals, you just keep doing what you're doing. But for the saboteurs, you need a playbook. Strategy number 1 is the proactive declaration. Don't wait until you're at a restaurant with a breadbasket in front of you. Talk to your friends and family beforehand, away from the tempting situation, and frame it with positive, powerful language. Don't say, "I'm on a diet." The word diet is weak. It implies deprivation, misery, and a temporary state that invites people to challenge it. Instead, say something like, "Hey, I'm on a new health journey to get my energy back and feel my best. I'm really excited about it. And it just means I'll be making some different choices when we're out. Your support would mean the world to me." You see the difference? You're not asking for permission. You're stating a fact about your new identity. You're framing it as a positive quest for vitality, not a negative punishment. This pre-frames the entire situation and makes it much harder for someone to argue against you feeling your best. Strategy number 2 is for the persistent pushers, like that dessert-wielding relative. This is the polite broken record technique. You need one simple, firm, and polite phrase and you just repeat it. For example, "That looks absolutely delicious, Aunt Carol, but I'm going to pass." She insists, "Oh, but I made it for you." You smile and repeat calmly, "I really appreciate that, but no thank you." She tries again, "Just one little bite." You maintain eye contact, smile, and say, "You're so sweet to offer, but I'm sticking to my plan. No thank you." Notice what you're not doing. You are not justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining. Hey, you don't owe anyone a detailed explanation of your caloric intake or your health goals. No thank you is a complete sentence. The moment you start explaining, you open the door for a debate. "Oh, you can burn that off tomorrow. It's a special occasion." Don't engage. Be a polite, smiling broken record. It feels awkward the first time, but it's incredibly empowering. You are teaching people how to treat you. Strategy number 3 is the social pivot. If your entire social life is built around activities that sabotage your goals, like weekly happy hours or all-you-can-eat wings nights. It's time to become the planner. Instead of passively accepting invitations, you need to proactively create new ones. Instead of let's grab drinks, you suggest, let's go for a hike this weekend. Instead of let's meet for dinner, try let's check out that new rock climbing gym, or let's walk through the farmer's market. This is a litmus test for your friendships. The friends who are there for you will be excited to try something new. The people who were just drinking buddies might fade away. And that's okay. You are curating an environment that serves the person you want to become, not the person you used to be. But managing the negative is only half the battle. You have to actively cultivate the positive. Find an accountability partner. This is someone who shares your goals. Could be a coworker, a friend, your spouse. This is the person you text when you're standing in front of the vending machine, the person who celebrates when you hit a new personal record at the gym. This shared journey creates an incredible bond and a powerful safety net. And if you can't find that person in your immediate circle, go out and find your tribe. This is the beauty of the modern world. Join a running club, CrossFit box, a yoga studio. Find an online community dedicated to your way of eating. These people get it. They won't question why you're turning down a beer. They'll ask you what pre-workout you're using. They won't think you're weird for tracking your food. They'll share recipes with you. When you immerse yourself in a community where your desired behaviors are the norm, those behaviors become effortless. Your new identity is validated and reinforced every single day. Ultimately, this all leads to the final, most powerful mindset shift. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your social environment and start seeing yourself as the leader. First, you're just trying to protect your own journey. But as you progress, as people see your energy, your confidence, your glow, the questions will change. The why are you doing that? From the saboteurs will slowly morph into a curious, wow, how are you doing that? You're not just escaping the bucket anymore. You're building a ladder and showing others the way out. You become the positive contagion. So we've fortified our mind, and now we've fortified our social circle. We've built a fortress of support, both internally and externally. But the fortress will be tested. The enemy will eventually breach the walls. Despite all our planning, all our willpower, all our support, we will slip up. We'll eat the cake. We'll skip the workout. We'll have a bad week that turns into a bad month. This is the critical moment. The moment where 99% of journeys end in failure. They see a single slip as a total collapse. But what if a slip-up wasn't a failure at all? What if it was a necessary strategic part of the process? Mastering the art of the comeback, turning a lapse into a launch pad, is the difference between temporary change and total transformation. And that is the secret weapon we need to forge next. Let's talk about the anatomy of a bad day. It almost never starts with a conscious decision to throw everything away. Starts with a single moment. A donut in the break room. An unplanned happy hour that turns into dinner. A stressful afternoon that leads you to the vending machine. And in that moment, a switch flips. The voice in your head, the one that was your cheerleader just yesterday, turns into your harshest critic. It says, well, you've already blown it for today. Might as well go all in. We'll start over tomorrow. Or Monday. Yeah, Monday is good. This, right here, is the single most destructive landmine on the path to lasting weight loss. It's a psychological trap called the all-or-nothing mindset, also known in research circles as the what the hell effect. And it's not a sign of weak willpower. It's a predictable cognitive distortion. Psychologist Janet Polivy and C. Peter Herman first identified this phenomenon in a series of now-famous experiments. In one classic study, they brought in participants who were actively dieting. They gave one group a large, decadent milkshake to drink. They gave the other group nothing. Then they put both groups in a room with bowls of ice cream and told them to taste and rate them. Here's the fascinating part. The dieters who had not had the milkshake were, as you'd expect, very restrained. They tasted a little bit of the ice cream and stopped. But the dieters who had been forced to drink the milkshake first, they ate significantly more ice cream. Their internal logic had shifted. They felt they had already broken their diet with the milkshake, so what the hell? The dam of restraint was broken, and the flood of indulgence followed. They had crossed a mental line they'd drawn for themselves, and once that line was crossed, all rules went out the window. This isn't just a lab curiosity. This is the play-by-play of millions of derailed diets across America every single day. We live in a culture that glorifies perfection and extreme results. We see before and after photos that show a flawless, linear progression. So we internalize this belief that our own journey must be perfect. 100% clean eating. Zero missed workouts. Any deviation feels like a total failure, a breach of contract with ourselves. That single cookie isn't just a cookie. It's evidence that we don't have what it takes. And if we've already failed, the what the hell logic provides a strange, temporary relief. It gives us permission to stop trying, to escape the pressure of perfection, and to indulge in the very foods that give us comfort. It's a vicious cycle of guilt, indulgence, and renewed, even stricter rules that are just waiting to be broken again. But what if we could dismantle this trap? What if we could reframe that moment of failure not as an endpoint but as a data point? This is the comeback mentality. It's not about avoiding mistakes. In an environment saturated with hyperpalatable foods and social pressures, mistakes are inevitable. It's about radically shrinking the time between the mistake and the recovery. It's about making the comeback so fast, so automatic, that the what the hell effect never even has a chance to boot up. To do this, we need a protocol. A pre-planned emergency procedure for when you step on a landmine. Let's call it the 3 R's of the strategic comeback. Recognize, reframe, and resume. First, recognize. The moment you eat something that wasn't on your plan, the moment you realize you've slipped, your only job is to simply recognize it without judgment. Not, oh my god, I'm such a failure. Just, okay, I just ate 3 cookies. That's it. You have to separate the action from your identity. Eating cookies doesn't make you a bad person or a failure. It makes you a person who ate cookies. By observing the event with neutral, non-emotional language, you stop the spiral of shame before it begins. Shame is the fuel for the what the hell fire. Neutral observation is the fire extinguisher. Second, reframe. This is where you become a detective, not a judge. Ask yourself one simple question. What can I learn from this? Why did that slip-up happen? Were you genuinely hungry? Were you stressed, bored, or lonely? Were you in a social situation where you felt pressured? Get curious. Maybe you learned that skipping breakfast makes you ravenous by 3 p.m. Maybe you learned that a stressful meeting with your boss is a major trigger for you. Maybe you learned that you need a healthier, pre-planned snack available for when you get home from work. This isn't about making excuses. It's about gathering intelligence. Every lapse is a lesson. It's your body and mind giving you crucial data about your patterns, your triggers, and your needs. A failure is only a failure if you don't learn from it. Otherwise, it's market research for your own body. Third, and most critically, resume. Your mission is to get back to your plan on the very next decision you make. Not tomorrow. Not next Monday. The next meal. If you ate the cookies at 3 p.m., your comeback starts with dinner. And that dinner is not a punishment. You don't eat a single leaf of lettuce to make up for the cookies. You simply eat the normal, healthy, planned dinner you were going to have anyway. You resume normal programming. The myth we tell ourselves is that we need to compensate for a mistake with extreme restriction. But this only reinforces the all-or-nothing mindset. It creates a cycle of binging and restricting. The pro-level move is to act as if the lapse barely happened. You acknowledge it, you learn from it, and you move on immediately. You fall off the horse, you get right back on. You don't sit by the side of the road analyzing the fall for 3 days. This same 3R protocol is your secret weapon against the other great psychological challenge, the weight loss plateau. Plateau feels like a failure. You're doing everything right, but the scale and number that mocked you last week is still mocking you today. The old mindset says, see? It's not working. This is pointless. What the hell, I might as well quit. But the comeback mentality sees it differently. First, you recognize, okay, my weight has been the same for 2 weeks. No panic, no despair. Just an observation. Second, you reframe. A plateau isn't a wall. It's a new floor. Your body has successfully adapted to your current habits. It's become more efficient. This isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of success. Your body did exactly what it was supposed to do. The question now isn't, why isn't this working? But, what's the next strategic move? This is the time to gather intelligence. Are you tracking your food as accurately as you were at the beginning? Could you increase your protein? Add 10 minutes to your walk? Try a different type of workout to challenge your muscles in a new way? The plateau is a signal to make a small, intelligent adjustment, not to abandon the entire mission. And finally, you resume, but with the new adjustment. You implement the small change and continue on collecting more data. This transforms the frustrating experience of a plateau from a dead end into a dynamic, engaging part of the process. It becomes a puzzle to be solved, not a verdict on your worth. By mastering this art of the comeback, You are building psychological resilience. You are fundamentally changing your relationship with imperfection. You begin to understand that the path to success isn't a straight line. It's a series of corrections. A pilot flying from Los Angeles to New York is technically off course 99% of the time. The journey is a constant series of micro-adjustments, correcting for wind, turbulence, and other variables. The pilot doesn't throw their hands up and turn the plane around the first time. A gust of wind pushes them a degree off-center. They simply recognize, reframe, and resume their course. Your journey is no different. The donut, the pizza, the plateau, they are just gusts of wind. They are not a reason to turn the plane around. They are the expected, normal, and necessary moments that give you the opportunity to practice becoming a master pilot of your own transformation. And once you truly understand that, you become unstoppable. Because the goal is no longer to be perfect but simply to be persistent. And that persistence is where the real magic happens. It's where you stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the architect of it. We've spent this entire journey together pulling back the curtain on the real reasons weight loss feels so impossible for so many of us here in the United States. It was never about a lack of willpower. It was never about finding the one perfect diet. It was never about you being broken or lazy. It has always been about the battlefield inside your own mind. We've talked about shedding the identity of a dieter and stepping into the identity of a healthy, vibrant person. We've dissected the all-or-nothing thinking that turns a single cookie into a weekend-long binge. We've uncovered the superpower of self-compassion, learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness we'd offer a friend. We've learned to become engineers of our environment, making the right choices the easy choices. Each of these was a single, powerful piece of the puzzle. Now, in our final moments together, we're going to put those pieces together to build your fortress. A mental and emotional stronghold so powerful that it can withstand the unique pressures of our American culture. Because let's be honest, the challenge we face is unique. We live in a society that screams at us from every billboard and every commercial break. Get it now. Fast results. Extreme makeover. We're conditioned to want instant gratification. Patience isn't just a virtue here. It's a revolutionary act. We're also surrounded by an environment of hyperpalatable, chemically engineered foods available 24/7, on every street corner, delivered to our door in minutes. This isn't a level playing field. It's an obstacle course designed to test our every resolve. And when we stumble, which is inevitable, we're met with the culture of shame, a multi-billion-dollar industry that profits from our feeling of failure, ready to sell us the next quick fix. This is why the mindset shift isn't just a helpful tip. It is your single most important survival tool. It is the only way to build a sustainable, peaceful, and healthy life in an environment that is actively working against you. So how do we do it? How do we take all this knowledge and forge it into an unbreakable commitment? We do it by getting serious. Not by buying another meal plan, but by drafting a new contract with the most important person in your life. Yourself. Your future self. This isn't a flimsy New Year's resolution. This is a binding agreement. Let's call it your personal constitution. The first article in this constitution is the vow of self-compassion. You will write it down. I solemnly swear to speak to myself with kindness, to treat my stumbles not as failures but as data, and to forgive myself for not being perfect. My worth is not measured in pounds, and a single misstep does not define my journey. You will practice this every single day. When you hear that old, critical voice start to whisper, you will shut it down and replace it with the voice of your own best friend. This is non-negotiable. The second article is the pledge of consistency over intensity. It reads, I commit to the power of small daily actions. I will no longer seek an unsustainable 110% effort for 2 weeks. Instead, I will give a sustainable 80% effort every single day. I will celebrate the boring, unsexy work of showing up, because I know that is where true transformation is born. This means you stop trying to win the week by Friday. You just focus on winning the next hour. Go for a 10-minute walk. Add a vegetable to your lunch. Drink a glass of water. These are the bricks that build the castle. The third article is the agreement of environmental control. I recognize that my willpower is a finite resource. Therefore, I will take responsibility for curating my surroundings to support my goals. I will make my home a sanctuary for my health, not a minefield of temptation. I will proactively set myself up for success, because I am worthy of that support. This is you taking your power back from the food marketers and the convenience culture. It's you deciding what gets to occupy your space and your attention. And the final, most important article in your new constitution is the clause of identity. You will write in big, bold letters, "I am no longer someone who is trying to lose weight. I am a person who values their health. I am a person who fuels their body with nourishing food. I am a person who enjoys moving their body. I am a person who is resilient, persistent, and in control of their own destiny." You will read this every morning. You will repeat it until it feels more real than your old story. Because your actions will always follow your deepest held beliefs about who you are. Now, a constitution is a powerful document, but it needs to be put into practice. The biggest enemy of any new plan is overwhelm and inertia. So we're going to install a simple operating system to bring this constitution to life. The 5-minute rule. It's this simple. If a healthy action takes less than 5 minutes, you do it immediately. No debating, no procrastinating. The thought enters your head and you act. Feel thirsty? Don't just think about it. Get up and pour a glass of water. Right now. Realize you don't have a healthy lunch for tomorrow? Take 5 minutes right now to chop some vegetables and grill a piece of chicken. See your workout clothes in the corner? Don't say, "I'll do it later." Take 5 minutes to put them on. That's it. This rule does 2 things. First, it bypasses the part of your brain that loves to make excuses. Second, every time you complete one of these tiny actions, you cast a vote for your new identity. You provide your brain with concrete evidence that you are the person you claim to be in your constitution. And finally, you must understand that this journey, this profound transformation, is not meant to be taken alone. The American ideal of the rugged individualist, pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps, is a myth that has caused so much unnecessary suffering. The most successful people in any field have a team. It's time you built yours. Think of it as your personal board of directors. You are the CEO of your life, but every great CEO has advisors. Your first board member should be a mentor. Someone who has already achieved the health and vitality you're seeking. This could be someone you know, or an author, or even a YouTube creator whose message resonates with you. Learn from their journey, their mistakes, and their successes. Next, you need a cheerleader. This is the person in your life who offers unconditional positive regard. This is your hype man, the one you call when you feel like giving up, and they remind you of how far you've come. Then you need an accountability partner. This is different from a cheerleader. This is the person you check in with, who asks the tough questions, who keeps you honest with the commitments you've made to yourself. This has to be a two-way street of mutual respect and support. And finally, don't be afraid to recruit an expert, a doctor, a registered dietitian, a therapist. These are people who have dedicated their lives to understanding the human body and mind. Use their expertise. Your job as CEO is to assemble this team and lead them, to take their advice and make the final decisions that are right for you. Stop trying to be the hero who does it all alone. And that brings us to the final, most important reframe of this entire series. After all this talk about weight loss, I'm going to tell you the truth. This was never about weight loss. Not really. Focusing on the number on the scale is like staring at the scoreboard instead of playing the game. It's a distraction. The weight is a symptom. The real goal is to get your life back. The real prize is waking up with energy instead of dread. It's having the stamina to play with your kids or your grandkids. It's the confidence to walk into any room and feel comfortable in your own skin. It's the mental clarity that comes from nourishing your brain. It's the freedom from the constant, exhausting cycle of shame and restriction. The weight you lose is just a side effect of you falling back in love with your life. It's a byproduct of you deciding to become the person you were always meant to be. We're not subtracting from you, we are adding. We are adding energy, adding confidence, adding years to your life and life to your years. So this is it. The end of our time together, but the beginning of your new story. You now have the tools. You understand the psychology. You know that the battle is not against your body. It's for your mind. The power to change has been inside you this entire time. It wasn't in a pill or a powder or a celebrity diet plan. It was in your ability to decide. To decide that you are worthy of feeling good. To decide that you will be compassionate with yourself. To decide that you will be persistent, not perfect. Your transformation doesn't start on Monday. It doesn't start tomorrow. It starts with your very next choice. Make it a good one, because you are the architect. Now go build.